The Merchant of Venice. Antonio was a merchant who lived in Venice, a prosperous city in Italy. In those days, that is about 500 years ago, sea voyages were dangerous, and yet some adventurous merchants traveled across the seas. Some others spent a lot of money in sending ships to far away countries. These ships brought brought back spices and other treasures from India and other countries. The merchants sold these things in Europe. They made a lot of profit in this business. मतलब एंटोनियो एक मर्चेंट था, मतलब एक बिजनेसमैन था। वो वेनिस में रहता था। वेनिस एक सिटी है इटली में, और 500 साल पहले सी से ट्रैवल करना बहुत ही ख़तरनाक माना जाता था। और कुछ एडवेंचरस मर्चेंट्स थे, वो वो समुंदर में सफ़र करते थे और बहुत सारा पैसा वो लोग लगाते थे शिप्स को भेजने में, दूर दूर कंट्री में शिप्स को भेजने में। ये शिप्स स्पाइसेस मतलब मिर्ची मसाले इंडिया से और दूसरी कंट्रीज से लेके आती थी, और मर्चेंट्स ये मिर्ची मसालों को यूरोप में बेचते थे और प्रॉफिट कमाते थे। At the time when the story begins, Antonio was waiting for his ships to return with merchandise. Merchandise means goods for sale. He had put almost all his money in the ships. Merchant, a trader who sells goods in large quantities. Merchant, a trader who sells goods in large quantities, prosperous, rich and successful. Voyage, a long journey by sea or in space. Merchandise, goods for sale. Antonio was a kind man. He had many friends, but his best friend, but uh, but his best friend. Antonio was a kind man. He had many friends, but his friend was Bassanio. Bassanio was a young and handsome nobleman, but unfortunately he had no money. Bassanio wanted to marry Portia. Portia was beautiful and intelligent. She was the only daughter of a very wealthy man. Her father had died, leaving her a large estate. In his will, Portia's father had written how Portia's husband should be selected. He had set a test for her suitors. They had to choose between three caskets, one of gold, one of silver, and one of lead. Noble meanings. Nobleman means a member of the aristocracy. Estate. The money and property owned by a person at the time of their death. Casket, a small ornamental box for valuables. मतलब एंटोनियो एक अच्छा आदमी था और उसका एक बेस्ट फ्रेंड था। उस बेस्ट फ्रेंड का नाम था बसानियो, और बसानियो एक यंग और हैंडसम इंसान था, लेकिन उसके पास ज़्यादा पैसे नहीं थे, और बसानियो को शादी करना था पोर्शिया से। पोर्शिया बहुत ब्यूटीफुल और इंटेलिजेंट थी, और वो एक वेल्दी आदमी की इकलौती बेटी थी, और उसके जो डैडी थे वो गुज़र गए, और बहुत सारा प्रॉपर्टी और पैसा पोर्शिया के नाम पे छोड़ के गए। तो पोर्शिया के फादर ने विल में ये डिसाइड किया था कि पोर्शिया का जो हस्बैंड होगा वो कैसे चुना जाएगा। मतलब पोर्शिया के हस्बैंड को 3 कैस्केट्स के बीच में चुनना पड़ेगा। एक कैस्केट गोल्ड की है, एक सिल्वर की है, और एक लेड की है। Each casket had something written on it. On the gold casket it was written, "Whosoever chooses me shall gain what many men desire." On silver casket, "Whosoever chooses me shall get as much as he deserves." On the casket of lead, "Whosoever chooses me must give and hazard all he has." गोल्ड कैस्केट पे लिखा था, "Whosoever chooses me shall gain what many men desire." सिल्वर कैस्केट पे लिखा था, "Whosoever chooses me shall get as much as he deserves." और जो लेड की कास्केट थी उस पर लिखा था, Whosoever chooses me must give and hazard all he has. One of Portia's suitor was the Prince of Morocco. He chose the gold casket. But when he opened the casket, the message inside said that it was not the right casket. All that glitters is not gold. Another suitor, the Prince of Aragon, chose the silver casket. But that too was not the right casket. हजार्ड का मतलब पुट एट रिस्क, और सूटर का मतलब अ मैन सीकिंग टू मैरी अ पर्टिकुलर वुमेन, मतलब एक आदमी तो एक ही लड़की को शादी करने के बारे में सोच रहा है कि उसको एक ही लड़की से, एक पर्टिकुलर लड़की से शादी करनी है, उसको बोलते हैं सूटर. सूटर. Bassanio wanted to try his luck with the caskets. To do that, he had to travel to Belmont, where Portia lived on her estate. He needed money for that. When Antonio came to know this, he wanted to help. He told Bassanio to borrow money in his Antonio's name. They went to Shylock, the Jewish moneylender, and asked him for money. मतलब बसानियो को अपना लक ट्राई करने का था कैस्केट्स पे. उसको बेलमाउंट जाने का था जहाँ पोर्शिया रहती थी, और उसको पैसे चाहिए थे, उसके पास पैसे नहीं थे. तो एंटोनियो ने बोला मैं तेरी मदद करता हूँ, तो मेरे नाम पे पैसे उधार मांग ले. शायद तो वो लोग जाते हैं शाइलॉक के पास, जो एक ज्यूइश मनी लेंडर था, पैसे देता था. शाइलॉक had a lot of money, but he was not at all generous. Money was all that he cared for. He did not like Antonio because Antonio sometimes lent people money without charging any interest for it. मतलब शाइलॉक के पास बहुत पैसा था, लेकिन वो बिल्कुल भी जेनरस नहीं था, बड़े दिल वाला नहीं था, और उसको सिर्फ पैसे की ही फिक्र थी. एंटोनियो कभी कभी लोगों को पैसे दे देता था, कोई भी ब्याज लिए बिना लोगों को पैसे दे देता था. Shylock decided to take advantage of the situation. He gave them the money on a strange condition. If Antonio failed to return the money within 3 months, Shylock would cut off a pound of Antonio's flesh. Antonio agreed to this and borrowed the money for Bassanio. मतलब अगर एंटोनियो पैसे रिटर्न नहीं कर पाया 3 महीने के अंदर, तो एंटोनियो की गोश्त का 1 पाउंड शाइलॉक काट लेगा. Bassanio went to Belmont. When he saw the caskets, he chose the lead one. That was the right casket, and Bassanio won Portia's hand by choosing it. Portia too was glad to marry Bassanio. Portia को भी खुशी थी कि उसकी शादी Bassanio से हो रही है, वो भी Bassanio को प्यार करती थी. In the meanwhile, Shylock heard that Antonio has lost his ships. He was very happy that Antonio would not be able to pay the money. He took Antonio to court and demanded that he fulfill the strange and cruel condition. The Duke liked Antonio and was sorry for him, but what could he do? Antonio had written a bond to Shylock, and according to law, Shylock was right. When Bassanio and Portia heard all this, they rushed back to Venice. Portia told Bassanio to pay Shylock twice the amount to save Antonio, but Shylock was adamant. He demanded only a pound of Antonio's flesh. Duke का मतलब highest rank of nobleman in Britain and some other countries. Adamant, refusing to change his mind. मतलब शाइलॉक को ये पता चला कि एंटोनियो की शिप डूब गई है और एंटोनियो उसको पैसे नहीं भर पा रहा था. शाइलॉक ने एंटोनियो को कोर्ट में ले गया. अब वहाँ जो जज थे वो भी कुछ नहीं कर सकते थे, क्योंकि अकॉर्डिंग टू द लॉ, कानून के मुताबिक शाइलॉक सही था. जब बसानियो और पोर्शिया को जब पता चला तो वो लोग वेनिस गए, और पोर्शिया ने बसानियो को बोला कि दुगना अमाउंट दे दो, लेकिन एंटोनियो को बचा लो. लेकिन शाइलॉक बहुत ही ज़िद्दी था, उसको अपना माइंड चेंज नहीं करना था. उसको एंटोनियो का गोश्त का 1 पाउंड चाहिए था. Everyone in the court, including the Duke, felt that Shylock's demand was inhuman. The Duke asked Shylock to show mercy towards Antonio, but Shylock was not ready to do so. He felt that Antonio and others had treated him badly before, and he wanted revenge. Just then, a young lawyer entered the court. He said that he would fight Antonio's case. He asked Antonio whether he had agreed to Shylock's condition. Antonio said that he had agreed. Then the young lawyer requested Shylock to show mercy, though the law was on Shylock's side. The lawyer pleaded that mercy is a quality of God Himself. When a person shows mercy to someone else, they are both blessed. Mercy was more valuable than a king's crown, but all this had no effect on Shylock. Revenge, something harmful done in return for an injury or wrong. Plead, make an emotional request. मतलब ड्यूक ने श्लाइलॉक को बोला कि थोड़ा रहम दिखाओ एंटोनियो पे, लेकिन श्लाइलॉक ने ड्यूक की बात नहीं माना. उसको लगा कि एंटोनियो और दूसरे लोगों ने उसके साथ बुरा करे और अभी यही टाइम है बदला लेने का. फिर एक यंग लॉयर कोर्ट में आता है. वो यंग लॉयर पूछता है एंटोनियो को कि क्या तुमने अग्री करे हो शाइलॉक की कंडीशन पे. तो एंटोनियो बोलता है हाँ मैंने अग्री करा हूँ. फिर वो जो लॉयर होता है वो रिक्वेस्ट करता है शाइलॉक को कि थोड़ा रहम दिखाओ. द लॉयर प्लीडेड दैट मर्सी इज अ क्वालिटी ऑफ गॉड हिमसेल्फ. व्हेन पर्सन शोज मर्सी टू समवन एल्स दे आर बोथ ब्लेस्ड. मतलब अगर आप थोड़ा रहम दिखाओगे तो दोनों को दुआ मिलेगी. दे आर बोथ ब्लेस्ड. दोनों सामने वाले को भी दुआ मिलेगी, हमको भी दुआ मिलेगी. मर्सी वॉज मोर वैल्यूबल देन अ किंग्स क्राउन, बट ऑल दिस हैड नो इफेक्ट ऑन शाइलॉक. शाइलॉक बहुत ज़िद्दी था. वो ये सब बातें नहीं सुनना चाहता था और नहीं माना उसने बात, और वो ज़िद पे अड़ा दिया कि उसको 1 पाउंड चाहिए एंटोनियो के फ्लैश का. द यंग लॉयर then said that the law allowed Shylock to take a pound of Antonio's flesh, and he could do that. At the same time, the lawyer warned that while cutting off the flesh, Shylock should not shed even 1 drop of Antonio's blood, as he should cut exactly 1 pound of flesh, nothing less, nothing more. That would not be allowed by the law. मतलब 1 पाउंड ही आप काट सकते हो गोश्त का टुकड़ा, और आप एक भी ड्रॉप ब्लड का नहीं निकलना चाहिए, क्योंकि ब्लड पे हक नहीं है. जो हक है शाइलॉक को वो गोश्त पे है, खून पे हक नहीं है, तो खून नहीं निकलना चाहिए. खाली 1 पाउंड गोश्त का ही निकाल सकते हो, और कम भी निकाल सकते हो, ज़्यादा भी निकाल सकते हो. ये सब जब शाइलॉक ने सुना, शाइलॉक समझ गया कि ये इम्पॉसिबल है ऐसा करना. शाइलॉक ने अपनी गलती को रियलाइज़ किया. Shylock realized that he could not do what the young lawyer asked him to do, and he accepted his defeat. Antonio's life was saved. Who was the young lawyer? Bassanio and Antonio found out later that it was none other than Portia herself, dressed as a young man. Later it was learned that Antonio's ships were safe, and so he had not in fact lost his money. Thus, the story which would have ended in tragic manner ended happily. शाइलॉक ने अपनी गलती रियलाइज़ कर दी और एंटोनियो की जान बच गई. और जो लॉयर था वो पोर्शिया ही थी. वो एक आदमी के रूप में ड्रेस होके आ गई थी, और बाद में पता चलता है कि एंटोनियो की शिप्स भी सेफ थी, और उसका पैसा नहीं, कोई नुकसान नहीं हुआ उसको पैसे का. Shed, drop or let fall. Tragic, very sad. Say whether the following statements are true or false. The merchant ships brought spices and other treasures from India and other countries to Italy. True. Antonio had gone on a long voyage. False. Bassanio was very rich. False. Portia had many brothers and sisters. False. Portia's suitors chose the gold and silver caskets. True. Bassanio borrowed money from Shylock in Antonio's name. This is true. Shylock was not at all generous. This is also true. Shylock demanded a pound of Antonio's flesh. This is also true. Portia saved Antonio in the court of law. This is also true. Antonio's ships were lost at sea. This is false. Write a few lines about each character. Antonio. Antonio was a merchant. He was a kind man. He had many friends, but his best friend was Bassanio. Bassanio was a young and handsome nobleman, but unfortunately he had no money. Bassanio wanted to marry Portia. Portia was beautiful and intelligent. She was the only daughter of a very wealthy man. Her father had died, leaving her a large estate. Shylock was a Jewish moneylender. Shylock had a lot of money, but he was not at all generous. Money was all that he cared for. Write the following in short: the story of the three caskets. In his will, Portia's father had written how Portia's husband should be selected. He had set a test for her suitors. They had to choose between three caskets: one of gold, one of silver, and one of lead. Each casket had something written on it. On the gold casket it was written, "Whosoever chooses me shall gain what many men desire." On the silver casket, "Whosoever chooses me shall get as much as he deserves." On the casket of lead, it was written, "Whosoever chooses me must give and hazard all he has." What the young lawyer pleaded? The young lawyer pleaded that mercy is a quality of God Himself. When a person shows mercy to someone else, they are both blessed. Mercy was more valuable than a king's crown. The events at the court. Shylock took Antonio to the court. He wanted a pound of Antonio's flesh. Duke asked Shylock to show mercy towards Antonio. Just then, a young lawyer entered the court. He said that he would fight Antonio's case. Then the young lawyer requested Shylock to show mercy, but all this had no effect on Shylock. The young lawyer then said that the law allowed Shylock to take a pound of Antonio's flesh, and he could do that. At the same time, the lawyer warned that while cutting off the flesh, Shylock should not shed even one drop of Antonio's blood. Also, he should cut exactly 1 pound of flesh, nothing less, nothing more. That would not be allowed by the law. Shylock realized that he could not do what the young lawyer asked him to do, and then he accepted his defeat. Antonio's life was saved. Read the conditions that Portia put down to warn Shylock. The young lawyer then said that the law allowed Shylock to take a pound of Antonio's flesh, and he could do that. At the same time, the lawyer warned that while cutting off the flesh, Shylock should not shed even 1 drop of Antonio's blood. Also, he should cut exactly 1 pound of flesh, nothing less, nothing more. That will not be allowed by the law. Find four words ending with OUS from the story. Can you add 3 more words ending with OUS to this list? 4 words ending with OUS from the story: prosperous, dangerous, generous, adventurous. Curious, continuous, and courageous. Read the following words. Write the words that are combined to make these words: far away. Far away, nobleman, whoever, moneylender, sometimes. Add 10 more words to the list of your own. Each of the component words must be meaningful: fireworks, waterfall, fruit seller, post box, butterfly, grandmother, catfish, blackboard, lemongrass, armchair. Read the following chain of words: fortune, fortunate, fortunately, unfortunately. Know, knowing, knowingly, unknowingly. Amaze, amazing, amazingly. Possible, impossible, impossibly. A letter or a group of letters added to the front of the word to change its meaning and make a new word is called a prefix. Example: fortunate, unfortunately, agree, disagree, possible, impossible, human, inhuman, legal, illegal. Add proper prefixes to the following words to make new words: kind, unkind, intelligent, unintelligent, advantage, disadvantage, happy, unhappy, allow, disallow, safe, unsafe. Find at least 3 sentences in the story which have modal verbs. Modal verbs: permission, can, may, could. Ability: can, present, future, could, past. Possibility: may, might, could. Impossibility: cannot, can't. Certainty: must, should. Request: can, will, less polite. Could, would, polite. Request: can and will are means less polite, and could and would means more polite. Talking about the future: will, shall. Offer: shall, can. Invitation: would. सजेशन एंड ऑब्लिगेशन: शुड, ought to, must. ये हैं सब मॉडल वर्ब्स. पहले लिखा है कि वो कहाँ पे यूज़ होते हैं और उनके बाजू में मॉडल वर्ब्स लिखे हैं जो यूज़ होते हैं. Sentences with modal verbs from the story. In his will, Portia's father had written how Portia's husband should be selected. He said that he would fight Antonio's case. He would fight Antonio's case. Shylock should not shed even one drop of Antonio's blood. Also, he should cut exactly 1 pound of flesh, nothing less, nothing more. Shylock realized that he could not do what the young lawyer asked him to do. He accepted his defeat. Thank you. आप लोग खाली एक ही नोट्स रेफ़र करो, ज़्यादा बहुत सारी नोट्स रेफ़र मत करो. आपको खाली एक ही नोट्स रेफ़र करो. जब आप पढ़ रहे हो एग्ज़ाम के लिए तो आप खाली एक ही नोट्स रेफ़र करो, बहुत सारी नोट्स मत रेफ़र करो. आपके स्कूल से भी आपने पढ़ लिया, स्कूल से भी पढ़ लिया, कॉलेज और ट्यूशन पे भी पढ़ लिया और यूट्यूब पे भी पढ़ लिया. तो ऐसे बहुत सारी नोट रेफ़र मत करो, कोई एक ही नोट आप रेफ़र करो. ओके, थैंक यू.